Hey, Brandon Mulrenin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And yourself, Jim?
I am doing fantastic. I'm thrilled to death to be here with you. Thanks for taking a few minutes of your day. I want to share this book that you just wrote, Reverse Selling by Brandon Mulrenin. It came out, I know, the first part of August on Amazon. And to not to my surprise at all, it is already a number one best-selling real estate book on Amazon. So congrats on the success of your book already in its first month, Brandon.
Appreciate that, Jim. Appreciate you having me on, and appreciate all your support. And means a lot coming from you, a guy who's wrote a book, a great book. And so means a lot. So I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I don't say this to blow any smoke up anybody's rear end. It's the best. This is the best real estate book that I've read. And I've read more than dozens and dozens and dozens of them before I wrote mine. This is better than mine. And I don't mind telling you why. We're going to get into, some of the specifics here, but the reason is, Brandon, you're brutally honest in this. And there are so many brokers and coaches and real estate owners who are, in my opinion, misleading new agents, letting them think they can get into this business and make good money without prospecting, without working really hard. And you just detail it right from the beginning and throughout the book that if you're not going to prospect on a regular basis, you're not going to make great money. Now, you also make it clear, we'll get into that again, but you also make it clear that it's not only prospecting. You talk heavily about working your top 100. So there's numerous ways to get business. And so let's just jump right in. Give a little bit about your background. I know you've been selling for years and years and you're the owner, but tell everybody who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for almost 17 years, Jim. I own a real estate brokerage firm. We've got about 250 agents. We'll do $500 million in real estate this year, about 2,200 transactions. And, I wrote the book, Jim, because exactly to your point, I think that we've got to tell agents the truth on what it takes to succeed. I believe that we owe people the truth. And you're exactly right. Too many people are afraid to tell people what it's going to take to succeed because somehow they believe that's doing them a favor. Well, I'm under the belief, just like when you take a listing, a seller wants an agent to tell them the truth. Most agents won't in fear of losing the listing, just the same way the brokers, coaches in this industry won't tell the truth in fear of losing the agent or the agent not liking what you're saying. So I wanted to write a book, removing all the emotions so an agent could have the truth. So they had the highest likelihood to succeed in this industry, which has been so good to you and I.
Well, you make it real clear, like I say from the very beginning, page 13, chapter 2, the truth about prospecting. You have to prospect. And then prospecting is the single most important aspect of your business. And why that is so hard for other brokers to tell their agents, I don't know. But what I do know, having been in the industry for 28 years now, that them not sharing that does hurt our industry because more than 80% of newly licensed realtors across the country leave the industry within 2 or 3 years. That's not right. Good for any of us.
That's exactly right. And the reality is people can call it whatever they want, but if a real estate agent's if they don't have their highest priority looking for new business, it's just a matter of time before they're going to go broke, not make enough money, and get out of the industry. And you're exactly right. The vast majority of this industry fails out within the first 1, 2, or 3 years. We get 1 million new licensees, and it's the same vicious cycle because they do not prioritize looking for new business. I mean, without clients, without customers, a business has nothing. It's you could be the best realtor, know the market inside and out, but without clients, it's all for nothing. You will make no money and you will go out of business, period.
What I love about your book is not only do you detail that, but you give the readers of this book specific details of how to prospect, who to prospect, how to do the follow-up. So let's jump right in. And chapter 2 was prospecting. Chapter 3 is mindset. Talk a little bit about mindset, Brandon?
Yeah. Mindset to me, Jim, and it's been proven time and time again, mindset's responsible for how we feel. How we feel then is responsible for the actions we take or we don't take. Most agents don't prospect because they don't feel like it today. And because I'm a 1099 independent contractor, nobody can tell me what to do. I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing, Jim. So the mindset is responsible for how somebody feels. And so when we strengthen the mindset, when we build a strong mindset, the agent can connect that mindset to the actions they know they need to do, but more importantly, then do them. And so the mindset is much more important than the skills, tactics, strategies that everyone's obsessed about. Because without that mindset, I could tell everybody exactly what to do, exactly how to do it, and they're not going to do it. So that's, to me, why mindset is so important and why I put it so early on in the book.
Head on. How about the F word? Explain a little bit what the F word's all about.
Yeah, I believe that in the English language, one of the most powerful words is the word fair. And especially in a selling environment, which we are in real estate, when we're communicating as we're selling, if people feel as though, Jim, they're being treated fairly, it's more likely that they will be more reasonable in working with you. So when you're prospecting, when you're communicating with people, if you can use the word fair strategically, you can then set more appointments, take more listings, write more offers, get more clients, help more people. And so that F word that I talk about in the book is fair. And if you use it the right way, it has the impact, it has the capability of changing and altering the outcome.
Okay, you also talk about and kind of go into detail, mastering the art of silence. I love that. And I'm going to let you talk about it first, and I'm going to share what my father taught me. But go ahead, talk a little bit about mastering the art of silence and why that's important.
Yeah, I think most people, when they're new to sales, Jim, they believe that the one that's doing the talking is the one in control, and they're always trying to figure out, what do I need to say next? What do I need to say next? And therefore, we don't listen. But the key to selling, the key to human connection, is actually listening to the other person in a way, Jim, that the other person feels as though you care. And so mastering the art of just shutting your mouth, being quiet, asking questions, allowing people to answer is one of the most powerful ways to connect with another human being. Because and most people watching this knows, people don't care how much you know or what you have to say until they know how much you care. So a way to do that, a strategy for doing that, is shutting your mouth and using the 2 ears God gave you and listening and being quiet. And so I talk a lot about in the book and the power of that in communication.
Such a simple step in communicating with people is listening. And I think the more nervous people are, or where I see it more often than not, is like the newer agents. Because like you said, they feel like they have to just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. And the other, what my father had taught me, who was in sales all his life, was, Jimmy, you get to a point in the sales cycle, and it doesn't matter if it's real estate or cars or insurance or whatever you're selling. You get to the point that the prospect either offers up their business and says, yeah, let's go, I'm ready, or you have to ask for the business. And
That's
a
right.
lot of people don't have the nerve to ask for the business. But when you do ask, zip it.
That's right. Quiet.
You give a good presentation, you be quiet. And if you've done a good presentation, the longer you're quiet, the more likely you are to get the business. The next person that talks loses. And I really believe that. So that's, we go over the art of silence. You talk about the 3 best ways to generate new business for sale by owners, expireds, and for rent by owners. Now, just real briefly, I've been in business 28 years, and I made my business mainly on for sale by owner, mainly expireds, and then secondly for sale by owners, and also my sphere. But I love your detail on for rent by owners. So I think everybody knows what for sale by owners and for expires are, but go into a little bit of detail of for rent by owners and why that is such a strong market.
Yeah, it's the hidden secret, like you and I have talked about in the past, and because it's really the perfect storm. It's These are homeowners that have a high motivation to sell. We'll talk about why in just a second. And low competition, right? With for sale by owners and expireds, everybody knows that's the low hanging fruit because it's the only two lead sources that we know somebody wants to sell, but super, super high competition. People got to compete with guys like you and I, right? Well, with for rent by owners and absentee owners, there's thousands of them in every city and every market across the country. And these are people who bought homes in the past that have had them rented out. We're not talking about the true investor. We're talking about Bob and Sue Smith who have one rental because when they bought it, the market was so low, they didn't want to sell it. So they said, well, babe, why don't we just rent this thing out? Now we're at the top of the market. And like any smart human being, we buy low, we sell high. Well, as the market is the highest it's ever been in the history of the world, these people are unloading these properties left and right, including myself. My wife and I have been acquiring properties over the last 15 years. We've had them rented out. Now we're on the upside. We're selling them all and we're taking our cash and running. Hundreds of thousands of people, Jim. I believe this will be the number one listing demographic for the next 3 years, probably even sooner as the market is at the height. Most of these people that have one or two rental properties, they're getting out because it's not worth it to have one or two, and they're going to take their upside. And no agents, rarely do agents work this source of business, which makes it an awesome opportunity for those that do.
You are so right. And I'm the prime example. I've been licensed 28 years and I never went after for rent by owners unless they happen to call me. But what you're talking about are not for rent by owners who have their house on the market or who have already expired. You're going after them and they're not on the market, correct?
Yes, correct. And they're both. You know, a lot of lead providers like Vulcan 7 Red X, they're selling for rent by owner. These are people that are actively looking for a new tenant, right? But then there's absentee owners that have homes that are tenant occupied by the thousands, tens, 20, 50,000 per city, that when that lease is up, Jim, they can't wait until that lease is up to get this property sold. Just the same way I couldn't wait. And so now we're liquidating and now we get to enjoy the upside of owning these properties, being a landlord, which is terrible, by the way. It's not all the glam that a lot of these people make it out to be. All passive income, bull crap. I mean, it's a lot of work, a lot of headache, lots of nightmares, lots of staying up at night and worrying. A lot of these people can't wait to sell these properties.
And, you know, just to repeat for newer agents or agents that are looking for a really good market, the two reasons that is phenomenal is, number one, in the history of the ownership of that owner owning that property, it has never been worth more than it is today. That's
Yep.
number one. And then number two, like you said early on, agents are not going to be competing with very many, if any, other agents if they go after for rent by owners, because even seasoned agents like me, that wasn't part of my bailiwick. I just didn't go after it. So it's brilliant. Absolutely love it.
Well, and I'll just add one more thing, Jim, and I know we want to keep this short, but you know, the other key thing, the third thing I would put on there is, and the reason why competition is low is, unlike an expired or for sale by owner where there's only a finite amount of them. I mean, Jim, there's literally in every city, there's tens of thousands. So even if you had agents that are working that source of business, the likelihood that they're working the same one that you are is very unlikely. Where if there's 3 for sale by owners in a city, you got 500 agents going after the 3. If there's 10 expired listings, you got 1,000 agents going after the same 10. So that's another benefit of this lead source.
Brilliant. Fortune is in the follow-up. Explain that. You know, it's mind-boggling to me how many realtors will make like one call or send one mailing to a prospect, and they're wondering why they don't get a call back for a listing presentation. So
Exactly right.
But how often and how much should a realtor follow up?
Yeah. I mean, when I coach a real estate agent, Jim, I tell them up front, if you don't follow up, if you're not willing to follow up, if you have no system for follow up, don't even make the first call. Don't even send the first mailer. Don't even knock the door at all. Because, you know, with certain lead sources, it's upwards of 100% of the results come through the follow-up, but certainly 80+% of every listing taken, every offer written is going to come via following up over time. This is how it works. Just like a relationship happens over time. No one proposes on a first date. And if they do, it's very, very rare. Well, the same thing in sales conversion. I mean, if we have a dialogue today, I mean, it's unlikely that we're going to list your house today, put the sign in the yard today, get the lockbox on today, show the property today. So therefore, there's a lot of steps to the process. So we have to have a system for following up. It can't be sporadic. Now, when you ask how often, I mean, I really think depending on how motivated the prospect is, the higher the motivation, the more frequency of follow-up. So much so, Jim, this will probably blow a lot of agents away, is if you talk to a very motivated expired listing and they're looking to relist the property, I make the argument you should touch them every day. Now, wait a minute, Brandon, every day? I can't do that. Here's the reality, Jim. I've never lost a listing because I followed up too much, but I've lost hundreds and thousands of dollars in commissions because lack of follow-up. And here's why. The follow-up process, Jim, is the only evidence that a seller has to determine what it's going to be like if they decided to hire you. So I use the follow-up process as part of my interview process. I can show them how on top of my game I am, how on top of the ball I am, that I'm not letting anything fall through the cracks. And I let that show them the type of work ethic that I have and displaying my skills as somebody they'd like to hire.
Phenomenal. Very briefly, if you can, you go into what you do for your, and what
Yeah.
is the top 100? Just kind of describe what the top 100 is. So agents don't think that you or this book or your coaching is all about prospecting. Prospecting is the most important, but the longer you're in business and more you work your top 100. All right, I'll let you run with that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, here's the thing. I think the word prospecting has just a negative connotation to it. I mean, I just want to define that. Prospecting is just an action that's done proactively to reach out to people. That's it. That's all prospecting is. You know, it's not cold calling. It's not door knocking. It's not expireds. It's not FSBOs. It's proactive action reaching out to human beings. That's it. So with the top 100, you have to prospect your top 100. Call it what you want. Well, I don't like the word prospecting. Okay, great. You got to send them a birthday card. Is that better? Well, yeah, that's better. I like that better. Okay, great. Well, let's just call it that. So the top 100, Jim, is a system that I put in place years and years ago that I teach agents where they work these relationships very intimately. There's a system they follow to communicate with 100 people. These 100 people, Jim, are folks that would absolutely do business with an agent, or at the first opportunity would refer business to the agent. Now, the system includes all kinds of different ways to communicate. You know, everything from the annual client appreciation event to the monthly direct mail piece to sending gifts on their birthday using mailbox power to calling them every 90 days to sending them a video email every week, so on and so forth. There's a system and a process. It's almost like a checklist so that, Jim, we can stay top of mind. This is how we earn referrals as realtors, is by winning top of mind awareness. The Top 100 program is focused on staying top of mind with these 100 people strategically so that these 100 people turn around and do business with you directly or indirectly send you a referral.
And I love what you say about that. And if you think about it, it is so true. If you do a good job working your top 100 people, without question, you should be doing 100 deals a year, because you're gonna get one referral, or an average. You're not going to get one from every, but you're going to get an average of one referral from each one. Some two, some three, some none. If you're staying in touch with them and you're providing quality information to them, because they want to refer good people. You know,
that's right. I mean, if you think about it, like everybody is going to run into at least one person throughout a 12-month span that's going to buy or sell a home. Like, I believe that to be true. So if you can stay top of mind with 100 people and those 100 people run into one person, it's 100 opportunities. Now, to your point, you might not get 100 referrals. You might get 50, but I do say in the book, if you work this source of business the way that I outline it in the book, I really believe, Jim, you don't need to work any strangers. You don't need to work any expired listings, no for sale by owners, no referral partners. You could just work this one source of business and serves you for the rest of your career.
It's brilliant. The other thing you mentioned, and I'm glad you brought it up, was how it's actually how you and I met years ago. Brandon and I have so much in common. It's kind of ridiculous. Our coaching style, our prospecting style, everything. But we met through a company called Mailbox Power, and just very briefly explain how you use that and why you think other realtors should use mailbox power in their real estate business.
Two ways. Number one, it's the main system for our, when we talk about building relationships, it's the number one system we use to automate the process to build a personalized relationship. So usually you don't use the word automated and personalized in the same sentence. Mailbox power has allowed us to break that dynamic. So number one, it's the number one strategy we use to build a personalized relationship with someone who we care about. And then number two, it's the number one tool we use to automate follow-up. So the two most important parts of a realtor's business, relationships and follow-up, we use Mailbox Power, which is a great technology to allow you to do both of the most important parts of a realtor's business.
Phenomenal. And I want to end it with what you end your book with, which is scripts. At the very back, you give scripts, pages and pages. I think it's about 30 pages, 25 or 30 pages of different scripts. And just briefly, when I started, I paid who at the time was the largest coaching organization back in the early 90s. And he is still around and his son is still around. And they both preach scripts. And when I first started, because I paid that coach, I thought, oh, I got to memorize these scripts. And I did, but I hated doing it. And I felt like it was just something that just, people, I felt like they knew that I was coming out with something that was memorized. It was just kind of spewed out of my mouth. But what I love about scripts, and what I tell all the agents that I've coached over the last 6 years, is you don't have to memorize scripts. But what you provide in your book, and I don't see that in any other book, is detailed scripts. If agents just read over those, that way, when the objection comes up, whether it's over the phone or in person, it's gonna come to mind, oh yeah, I know how to handle that. And then they handle it in their own words, as opposed to trying to memorizing Brandon Mulrenin or some other coach's scripts. So I just, kudos to you. Just talk a little bit about scripts.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is exactly right. I think that scripts are just no more than just a framework so that we can put a real estate agent, Jim, in a position to know what to say so that they can actually listen when they're talking to a prospect. Because if they don't know what to say, Jim, they don't listen to the prospect. They're so worried about what do I need to say next, but what they need to say next is going to come from the prospect. So scripts is just a framework. So you can understand, having a semblance of what a conversation could be like. So you don't have to worry about what to say, and you can focus on the most important thing, which is listening, not talking.
Yeah. Well, I want to end it now, but I want to talk just very briefly. Get this book if you're a new agent or if you're an experienced agent, because like I said, what I learned for Brandon, for rent by owners, I'd never in my 28 years had heard it. And just think of the hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions I missed by that. And then secondly, Brandon's coaching is phenomenal. And I didn't let you know we're going to talk about that, but when I think about, you have a coaching program where you coach hundreds, or maybe now it's over 1,000, but I know you coach hundreds of agents. And the cost, you may or may not want to get into it, but the cost is minuscule. I mean, it's minuscule to get this kind of motivation. And if you'd like to just briefly talk about your coaching, and then we're going to end the video.
Yeah. I mean, so anybody that's interested can just go to reverseselling.com. They can learn more. But there's three things that I believe an agent needs to succeed. They need training. They need to know what to do. They need coaching, which is how to do it. And then they need accountability, Jim, to make sure that they do it. So our program provides all three of those to an agent. And going to price, we wanted to price it to be essentially 1/2 of one commission. Our average coaching client is getting 2 listings per month, 24 per year. Most agents, when they do that, they shoot up the ranks to be in the top agents at their brokerage. So that's our average. We now have over 1,000 coaching clients, and our average client gets 2 listings per year. And it's because we put all three of those things together: training, coaching, and accountability.
Love it. Reverse Selling, Amazon.com. Get it. It's already a #1 best-selling book on Amazon in real estate. Thanks so much for writing the book, Brandon. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jim.
Have a good day.
You too.